lovelies, welcome back. I am Kishara, the queen of creative inspiration, and here in this space, we create to inspire. Now, if this is your first time joining me, welcome. I'm a therapeutic art instructor and a life coach, and I am here so that we can walk this journey of life together so that we can develop into the very best version of ourselves. Now, today is day 18 of our forgiveness journey. Now, today is an interesting day because it is all about forgiving our thoughts and our experiences with the world. Now, it was kind of interesting to actually sit and reflect on what do I really think about the world and what do I feel like I need to forgive about the world. And to be honest, more so than anything, it's more about my perspective and how I feel like things are progressing or not progressing. Now, the first thing that came to mind is, I guess because I'm always surrounded by children, was how are the children right now in this day and time in society? How are they going to affect the world that develops into? Like, my mind, when I think of I forgive the world, is already thinking towards the future. I'm not even thinking about what is happening right now. Like, I'm centering it around what choices or experiences are we engaging the youth in that's going to affect this country or in this world. Is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative? And I might think and perceive things that way because when I sit and I think about things, it seems like a completely different universe than it did when I was a child. Like, the world is not even, it's not even reminiscence to what it was when I was in high school. And it hasn't even been that long. Like, I'm not that old. So I can only imagine how older people feel if I feel this way. Like, it just kind of seems like things are more negative and that people are more selfish and that people just genuinely don't care and have absolutely no empathy for people, places, anything. Like, people are just so self-centered, that they're so self-serving, that I just think the world is becoming like a cruel place. And I feel like maybe it's just because that's what we're always exposed to. When you watch the news, or you listen to music, or you watch any movies or whatever, or play video games, everything is negative, violence. Like, all you hear all day long is about drama, 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 and chaos. And how is that actually genuinely affecting us as adults? And more importantly, the children that we are bringing up to engage and be entertained by these scenarios. Like, some of the things that are acceptable now, a lot of the things that we can see on TV that are considered okay were not okay at all when I was a child. Like, would not even be considered a television show. Now, on the contrast, there's other shows that had more of a positive perspective that I don't even think they would allow to be on TV right now. I don't think that they would ever, at this moment, they're not going to make a show that's reminiscent to Touched by an Angel or anything like that that has like a positive perspective. Like, everything is about drama and suspense and mystery and just negativity. And I mean, I don't think it's like, I like to read. Like, I really don't watch a lot of TV or a lot of movies. Like, I mean, I watch YouTube the majority of the time because I feel like that's where I can connect and find people that actually I can identify and relate to, because it seems like the whole world around me is in completely opposite universe. Like, it seems like they're elsewhere and I'm just here, like, in this bubble of uniqueness where I just don't quite understand or fit in because of the way that I was brought up. Like, I was raised by my grandparents, so I still have a lot of those values. Like, my grandfather was a minister, so I was always brought up on those principles. So regardless of if you're religious or not, I always was taught that you're supposed to treat people the way you want to be treated. Like, literally, everything in this world could be solved if we just respected people the way that we wanted to be respected. And I feel like the scariest thing about the way that the world is right now and the way that the world is progressing is that we don't respect each other, and that we don't have love and compassion for each other, that we always feel like we have to compete with each other, that we always feel like we need to show dominance, or that we need to be ahead of the situation so that this person doesn't take advantage of. Like, everything is centered around negativity. Like, even people that say that they're trying to uplift and inspire you or whatever are actually speaking negative. Like, if all you hear is people all day long talking negative about this particular thing, on and on and on and on, these people are like this and those people are like this, and you're contributing to that negativity. You're saying that you want to be positive and all of that, but you're not. You're actually engaging in those same experiences, and then you wonder why they manifest into your life. Like, take for instance, if you have a negative perspective about all women, like if you feel like women are just trying to take advantage of you and use you or whatever, then every woman you can come in contact with, you're going to try to test them to see if they're this way or that way, and you're basically going to offend them. And then when they get upset, then you're going to be like, see, they're just like everybody else and blah. No, how about it's you? How about you purposely did something to extremely disrespect them, and now you're going to judge them off of the way that you treated them? You disrespected them. Like, you wanted that to happen so that you can justifiably reject them out of fear of whatever you've dealt with in your past. And that's exactly where that comes from. I don't think people develop those kind of habits and perspectives to just be hateful and malicious. Like, it literally comes from wanting to preserve themselves and their emotional state because of whatever they experience. However, it's not fair to everybody else you come into contact with to treat them in the same way that you felt like someone else disrespected you. Now you are legitimately turning into this person that you felt like hurt you. You're purposely, subconsciously putting yourself in the same scenario over and over and over and over and over again, because you already believe that this is how this type of person is, or men are this way, or women are this way. So before I even allow this person to disrespect me or to do that to me, then I'm going to make sure this and that, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to try this and see how they handle that. And like, you're purposely setting up situations to where you already know what the outcome is going to be just to justify the way you feel, which honestly is not healthy. Okay, but that's just some of the thoughts that I feel about where the state of the world is right now. Now, I've been using this book and I've been sharing my reflection questions with you guys. And typically I only do about 3 or 4. But since this is basically the last day of how things have been consistently through this journey, I actually want to read all 12 of the reflection questions for you. Now, the next 3 days are more about writing a personal letter of forgiveness for the 3 people that are the 3 situations or perspectives that we feel like we need the most amount of forgiveness, or that we need to dive deep into and really expose how we actually feel and be vulnerable so that we can heal those relationships. So since day 19, 20, and 21 is more about focusing on one individual person and writing a letter for that situation, I wanted to share all of these with you. So this is Forgiveness, 21 Days to Forgive Everyone for Everything by Iyanla Vanzant. And this has actually been instrumental to this journey. Like, this is not an easy process, to be quite honest. The reason why I chose to do this here with you guys in the public and be vulnerable and authentic with you guys is because it would hold me accountable. Like, if I go and I say I'm going to do this every single day because of the person that I am, I'm going to do it every single day because I literally declared that. I said that's what I was going to do. So I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. Now, I've tried to do this book 2 other times on my own, and I got to day 5 both times. I got to day 5 and just was like, no, I can't do it. Did not pick the book back up for months, all because I wasn't emotionally or mentally or spiritually ready to actually release those pent up feelings. Like even getting the book and just having it in my presence was a first step, and it was actually a hard step because you're actually admitting that you need to take action to do something to improve your circumstances and your perspective and the way that things are progressing into your life. So I'm going to share all of these with you, and do not take them as any kind of form of judgment. I'm just being open and authentic. These are literally what came to mind when I read these prompts. So I was open and authentic, and I'm going to genuinely share that with you guys. Now, first, she always shares a prayer. So I'm going to share the prayer with you guys, and then I'm going to read all of my reflection answers for today. So for day 18, the prayer is, Dear God, today I come to you asking that you open my mind, my heart, my eyes, and my ears to your presence in the world I see. Today I ask to think only the thoughts that I think with you and to see you in all people and circumstances. I confess that I have been critical of people and situations that may affect my life in ways I do not always understand. I confess that I have held judgments about people with whom I do not agree and about things that I do not accept. I confess that in certain situations, under certain circumstances, I have been critical, demeaning, and dismissive of people, their opinions, and convictions when they do not mirror what I believe. I have fought to be right about what I believe while judging other people wrong about what they believe. I confess I have engaged in the energy of againstness, harboring upset and utter criticism that has been unkind, unloving, and in some cases attacking as a way to justify a position held in my mind. Today I ask to be forgiven for it all as I forgive others. Today I choose to see the world and all people with the eyes of love, acceptance, and peace. I lay down all of my weapons today. I rest in thee. I let it be, and so it is. Amen. Now, I love reading those prayers, and before I do the reflection exercises and dive deep and be authentic about these emotions and these thoughts that I'm harboring that usually I'm not even aware of until I literally write it down. So I just thought, since this is actually the last day of the traditional or the typical reflection questions that I have been doing, that I would share them all with you. So here goes. So the first one is, I forgive my mind for thinking that I forgive my mind for thinking that people in the world are ignorant and lack critical thinking skills. That might sound harsh, but it's the truth. Like, I don't feel like people or society has taught anyone anymore the importance of being able to think for your own self and being creative and figuring things out without everything just happening instantaneously. Like, because things are so accessible nowadays, especially, I see this, like, I probably view this in a different way because I'm always around children and a multitude of them. Like, I'm in a school, it's not like I'm around 2 or 3 kids. But what I've noticed is that these kids, if they get an answer wrong, or if they're trying to draw something and they have to erase the line, it's literally like they have a panic attack. Like, they get so frustrated just because they didn't do it perfectly the first time. And it's like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be able to do everything instantly. You just have to know how to figure it out and make it work for your own self. Like, take for instance, there's been plenty of times that when I started this channel, I would use my iPad to record this, or I might use my computer to record this, and I had to figure out how can I sync everything all together. And I got creative and said, why don't I put these pictures in Canva so that I can have them on all of my devices and use them? However, if I just panicked and didn't even think or try to come up with a solution, I would have just got angry and frustrated, and it probably would have deterred me from even doing this at all. So the next one is, I forgive my mind for thinking that the world is headed in the wrong direction. And also, it's interesting that how all of these things are coming back to children in my perspective, considering that I don't have children, but I guess it makes sense because I'm always around them, and that makes me think about the lives that they're going to have and us being around them. How are we affecting them? How is the way that we carry ourselves? How are the way that we treat them? How is it going to affect them in the way they develop and the people that they develop into and how they contribute to society? The next one is, I forgive my mind for thinking that people judge anything that they don't understand as evil, wrong, or negative. Yes, and I can honestly say that I have been guilty of this too, because the way I was brought up, if I didn't know anything or I never heard about it before, then it automatically was wrong. No, don't do that. That's wrong. To be honest, I was ignorant about what it even was or what it even meant or anything, but I'm automatically just judging it just because I don't know what it is and I've never experienced it. Just because you don't understand something does not mean that it's wrong. And instead of you judging, maybe you should look into it to understand. And then maybe you won't still have that same perspective instead of just automatically saying, I don't do that and I've never heard of that, so that's wrong and you don't need to do it. That's a form of judgment. Like, you have no right to judge me. You don't know why I make the choices that I've made or why I engage in the activities that I engage in. And that goes the same for me. Like, I don't have the right to judge what anybody else is doing as wrong or negative or whatever, because I don't know them. Like, we were all created uniquely and individually. Like, my favorite scripture has always been Jeremiah 29:11, which literally states, for I know the plans I have for you, declared the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in a future. It says that he knows the plan, not that society or the world knows the plan. All of us are different. We all have different perspectives. All of our hearts are different. All of the things that we think and feel are different. So because I might express those relationships in a different way than you do, does not mean I'm wrong. It just means you don't understand and you're ill-informed. And instead of you finding the information, you just decide to judge. All right, the next one is, I forgive my mind for thinking that people of the world subconsciously misjudge each other. And that goes just hand in hand with that. Like, if you already have this perception that everything you do is right and anything that anybody else does is wrong, then you're obviously judging everyone without even knowing them. Like, you're literally allowing yourself to get frustrated and upset about people and circumstances that aren't even aware of you or how you feel, because you're just making a perception. It's just kind of interesting. The next one is, I forgive myself for judging the world for being a chaotic place that I can barely recognize. And it's the truth. Like, I would have never thought when I was in high school that 10, 15 years later, this is how the world would be. Like, it's so different. Like, it's not even the same. Like, basically, it seems like the laws, everything have changed. Like, there used to be literally, like, some of these music videos and stuff that we're allowed to watch now, the way that women are allowed to show themselves, there's nothing wrong with that. However, when I think about where the world was when I was younger, that would have never been acceptable to be on TV. I could not even imagine in my life at all in that time that in this season that we would just be seeing all of that. Like, it just still seems weird to me because it's the complete opposite of what I experienced in my adolescence. So I'm like, what happened and why is this going on? Like, why are we engaging this? Why are people encouraging these things without really thinking and considering how these actions are actually going to affect the people that are growing and developing and going to turn into the people that are going to be running society within the next 10, 15 years. Like, we think everything's all good and perfect now, and it's all acceptable while they're young or whatever, they're just having fun. And then when they get older and no one takes anything seriously and everything's a joke and the world is chaotic and just a hot mess because no one had any discipline or structure, like, what's going to happen? Because that's legitimately how I feel is happening. Like, that's how I feel things are heading into. And to be quite honest, I didn't really realize that until I started to do these reflections and I actually thought about, how do I really feel about the world? Like, what keeps coming to surface in regards to what I think about the world? And it all comes down to actually how I perceive what is going to be happening in the future. Like, in the future, I'm going to be older. Like, am I going to trust these young people to make the right decisions to where I'm going to be able to live a happy, sustainable, comfortable life in my old age? How it seems now, everyone's so judgmental and condescending and selfish. I don't think so. I don't think that the children of these days have any kind of respect for their elders and have any kind of genuine interest to help anyone. They're all about what I can get, and if you can't get something for or do something for me, then I'm just going to completely dismiss you and abandon you. And that's just, to be honest, what I feel. I didn't realize that until I actually had to sit and think about it, but I had to be open and honest. That's exactly how I feel. Now, the next one is, I forgive people of the world. I forgive myself for judging the world because people have become hateful and mean-spirited. And they have. People are just so negative and just rude nowadays. You could just be in the store and you could legitimately be smiling, be like, hey, how are you doing? I like your shirt. And they'll just walk right past you like, really? I just gave you a compliment. Like, why are you mad? And I was trying to be nice to you. Okay. I guess you're having a bad day. Not gonna let that affect my positive energy, but it's just like, a few years ago, that wouldn't happen. Or if you see someone that's older and you engage with them in that way, it's a completely different response. It's only the people that are younger that do that. It's like they don't understand that the way that they respond affects the way that people view you. And you might not ever know how your interaction with that person might come back around tenfold. I mean, you might go to a job interview one day or something, and that person that you were rude to and disregarded is the person interviewing you. And all because you were mad that they complimented you. Like, you have to really think things all the way through. And I don't think people of this generation do, because they've never been taught to care about anything or to take anything seriously, because a lot of things have just been handed to them. So the next one is, I forgive myself for judging the world when people don't listen to understand, they listen to judge. And that is so true, especially about today's society. Everything is, it's this way or this way. You either feel this or you feel this. If you don't agree with this, then you're this, this, and this. And people are multidimensional. Like, we can have multiple different perspective about things that are on the same spectrum. Like, that does not mean that I hate you or I'm against you or anything like that just because I have a different opinion than you. But people get so offended just because people want to think for their own self and they come to their own conclusion, and people get frustrated and upset just because you don't just say, oh yeah, you're right. Like, if I don't agree with that, I'm not going to be fake and be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, no, if I don't agree with that, I'm going to be honest and be like, no, I don't think that's okay. I don't feel like people should be offended by that or angry or feel like I'm this or that or want to judge me just because I view a thought differently than them. We're all supposed to be able to think critically for our own selves. And like I said, I feel like that has gone away in society because what people see on the news or on TV, they hear one person say, if you think this way, then you're that. And now you literally judge every single body that even remotely makes a statement that you feel like fits in that category. And what you don't realize is you're actually hurting and traumatizing yourself by holding and harboring all this negativity for people that are not even trying to offend you. They just think differently than you. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. So the next one is, I forgive myself for judging the world when everyone seems to be against each other for no valid reason. And that literally supports what I just said. Like, why are everyone so angry with each other? Like, why do people feel the need to be argumentative or to prove their point or to just be rude and disrespectful to each other? Like, where did that come from? That's the complete opposite of treating people with love and compassion. Like, why would I treat anybody that way unless I would want to receive that treatment in advance? I mean, in return. Like, you know, if you're mean and rude and disrespectful to people, then most likely people are going to be mean and rude and disrespectful to you. And really, it has to do with you and your actions because of what you perceive and what you think. So you're walking around on defense, being all rude because all of this, and you're causing situations to where people are going to disrespect you because of how you're acting. And the reason why you're acting that way is because of what you think. Like, you might not even realize that what your thoughts are affecting the choices and the actions that you make, but it is. As a man thinketh, so is he. Legitimately, what you believe depicts every aspect of your life. If you think that all people are negative and can't stand you or against you or trying to judge you, then you're going to do the same thing in return to other people. And then, yeah, you're going to experience the same thing because you're doing the same thing. And then you use that to validate your point to continue to go and do the same thing and end up in this revolving cycle of negativity that you keep experiencing, and you don't understand that it all stems from how you think and how you feel. And if you change your perspective and how you think and how you feel, then you're going to change the way you talk. You're going to change the choices that you make. You're going to change the people that you surround yourself with, because all of that has to do with how you view yourself, society, your friends, everything. It all has to do with what you genuinely think about people or the world. All right. So I've only got 4 more, so I'll wrap it up. So I forgive myself for believing the world no longer accepts independent thinkers. And I agree with that. Like, if someone says something from a different perspective, they're like, yo, well, you know, I kind of thought about it and maybe it could be like this. Like, maybe it didn't happen that way, or maybe we should look at it this way. And it's like people get offended. Like, oh, I tried to tell you. I'm like, okay, I just said that maybe it might be different. Like, why are you upset and now have an attitude and like have a grudge against me or some kind of vendetta against me just because I made the choice to come to my own conclusion? Like, isn't that what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to search and find our own understanding. We're not supposed to just believe and do whatever everybody else does. You have to be authentic to who you are. We were all individually and uniquely created. We're not all supposed to think, act, and do and feel the same way. So for judging people for being independent and thinking on their own and not feeling like they need to fit into some kind of niche in order to be accepted by society, I think that that's not fair. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. We're all supposed to be uniquely different. We're not supposed to be the same. And to be honest, if you're surrounding yourself with people who are all the same, then I guarantee you that a lot of you guys are just putting on a facade and just being around people because you perceive them this way, so you act this way so you can fit in with them. Like, if you're changing the way that you act so that you can fit in with a group of people, then those people actually don't genuinely like you. They like who you're pretending to be. And when you get tired of pretending to be somebody, then those friends are going to disappear because they weren't really your friends anyway. They were friends with some made up version of yourself that you felt like you needed to become in order to be included, which I'd rather be excluded and be my own self and not feel like I have to walk on eggshells or make choices based off of what someone else thinks. I'd rather just be by myself and be happy in my own uniqueness than having to feel like I need to conform to other people's perspective or beliefs or anything like that. So I've got two more. I forgive myself for believing the world is filled with negativity. And that is genuinely how I feel. Like, turn on TV, news, even YouTube. Like, unless you engage in a lot of content that's about self-improvement and about positivity and about uplifting people, then literally it's like you just get flooded with, oh, video reaction of this person cheating, or video reaction of this Karen going crazy, or video reaction of a cop mistreating someone. Like, what? That's all people really want to see? Seriously? Like, why is that the first thing that's being recommended to you when you just open up YouTube? I mean, literally. Now, and people will sit there and watch all that stuff with all this drama and disrespect, and they'll have millions of views, but when someone's engaging in something that's positive and uplifting, it's completely disregarded. And then we wonder why the state of the world is in a hateful and negative state. Like, that's what we're entertaining. That's what we feel like is cool or acceptable. Like, that's what we feel like is what we need to be entertained by, not knowing that subconsciously what we're viewing and receiving into us actually depicts and changes the way that we actually carry ourselves and the choices that we make. Because if you're constantly watching negative things and literally viewing other people's negative experiences, you're going to start seeing things from that perspective. Especially if you just watch it over and over and over again. If you just sit down all the day long on YouTube and just watch negative reaction videos about all kinds of random gossip and all kinds of stuff, then yeah, you're going to have a negative impact on the world. You're going to have a negative impact on yourself. You're going to have a negative perspective. You're most likely going to be angry and depressed because all you're doing is feeding negativity into yourself. You're not feeding love and life and positivity in yourself. You're literally rejecting the positive so that you can be fixated on negativity. And I feel like that is so widely promoted that people, especially the younger generation, actually think that's the norm, or they actually feel like that is what they should be doing, or that is acceptable, and anything opposite is unusual or not okay. Now, the last one is, I forgive myself for believing that the future of the world seems to be headed in a negative direction. And I'm gonna wrap it up with that. Like, literally, I do. When I embarked on today's journey for day 18 of my 21-day journey, and I thought about forgiving the world, it really didn't have anything to do with the things that happened to me in regards to the world, but more so how I view what is happening and how it's going to affect us in the future. I'm more so focused on how things are now that I can already perceive and tell that they're going to be negative. They're going to have a negative impact on society. And, wisdom comes with age. Like, it might just be that I view things in that perspective now because I've had experience. I've lived through my 20s. I think completely differently than I did back then. So to me, I see and I can understand the severity of actually taking initiative or being aware of what is happening in society and actually thinking about how it's going to affect us. Because to be honest, when you're younger, you're not thinking about that. You just want to have fun and you don't care. Whatever you think, feel, believe, that's what it is. Like, you're completely removed from what's going to happen in the future until it happens. And then you'll be like, how did that happen? Like, how did we let that happen? But anyway, that's how I'm going to wrap it up today. So I was very open and authentic with you guys. So if I hurt your feelings, I didn't mean to. This is just the thoughts that came to my mind when I embarked on today's reflective journey. And in order for me to heal and really benefit from this forgiveness journey, you have to be authentic. You legitimately have to express the things that you're subconsciously holding in. And a lot of times we feel guilty about what we think and how we feel, but the thought is not wrong. It's the actions that you make in regards to that thought that is wrong. So I had to learn that it's okay for me to feel and think whatever way I need to, or whatever way just naturally happens. However, that does not mean I need to let that thought or feeling or emotion control and devastate my whole embodiment of whatever is going on in that circumstances or whatever. But anyway, thank you for joining me for day 18 of this forgiveness journey. I'll be back tomorrow for day 19, and tomorrow will be a little bit different because I'll actually be writing a letter in regards to someone in particular that I feel like I need to spend a little bit of extra time in regards to this forgiveness journey. And I think I'm going to be really transparent with you guys in regards to that also. But I don't know if I might not say the person's name. I might just speak it, But before I go, I almost forgot. Let me share with you my artistic reflection for today. So for today, I created this, which states, I forgive the world. So I set the intention, I wrote it down, I made the vision clear. So this is my personal journal. This is a form of prayer, it's a form of how I can develop my faith and keep telling myself over and over again that this promise is already guaranteed to me. That's how me creating these beautiful pieces of artwork and actually writing my vision and making it plain, that's how this affects me and how it helps me to develop and grow in my faith. Like, faith without works is dead. Now, no, I can't just write it down and not take any action, but I can utilize this to help me change my perspective to gain the confidence to make those choices because I can already see it and believe it and feel it. Now I can counteract that negative thought that I have with this positive thought because now I can be aware of it. Now I can actually identify it when it pops into our mind. Like, we're not victims of what comes to our mind. Just because we have a thought does not mean that we need to judge it or reject it or anything like that. Like, your thoughts are just your thoughts. Like, they don't even have to belong to you. It's just a random thought that popped in your mind, and I feel like we judge ourselves for that. But when you realize that you have a negative thought in regards to this or that, now is your responsibility to do something to change that thought. So when you notice that thought comes in mind, you can remember the vision that you wrote and you said and you stated over yourself. You can say, no, I don't think the world is a negative place. I forgive the world. I forgive my perception of the world. The world is going to get better. Like, I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to make choices to uplift and inspire this world so that it can be a better place. Like, that's what happens when you start to write it down and make the vision. That's what affirmations are. A lot of times people are like, oh, I don't know about affirmations. That just seems weird. It's literally prayer. Like, that's exactly what it tells you to do. Like, it's literally speaking those promises over yourself. It's literally writing it down and declaring it and demanding it over yourself. Like, just because it might be a different form of prayer than somebody else and it might work differently for you, does not mean it's wrong. That just means that you weren't created to receive that. That's made for somebody else. So you just need to go on with your merry way and find another way to pray and connect with the Creator. So anyway, that's my spiel for today. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate and love and support you guys. If you enjoyed this, if this benefited you in any sort of way, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like to support me and my channel, then you definitely could do so through donations or by checking out my Etsy store for all of my original artwork. So thank you guys so much. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.